It's named after an unripe fruit spotted nearby when it was first discovered 50 years ago. But the mysterious green banana in the Gulf of Mexico is a scientific puzzle. Researchers are only starting to piece it together.
Yeah, CBS 12's Andrew Lofholm talks with one of the only people to dive to the bottom and the researcher working to unravel the mysteries.
Right now, scientists mostly have questions, but in time, the hope is studying the green banana will provide answers about things like the red tide, the Florida aquifer, and how a 12-foot sawfish could drown deep underwater.
Green banana, it sounds funny. It's really just a hole in the ocean.
About 50 miles off the Sarasota coast, discovered in the 70s by a passing boat captain, the green banana is what's called a blue hole, a huge cavern on the sea floor. And not far away, another blue hole named Amberjack, giving scientists a research twofer. Amberjack is where this sawfish drowned, likely smothered by high concentrations of hydrogen sulfide where there should have been oxygen in the water.
Amberjack hole, which we think is a former sinkhole, just like you'd have on land. And then green banana, which we think used to be a spring, also like you'd have on land up in, let's say, northwest Florida. And so the two, we think, formed by very different mechanisms.
Dr. Jordan Beckler from Florida Atlantic University's Harbor Branch in Fort Pierce is part of the research team. It includes scientists from Georgia Tech, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, the U.S. Geological Survey, and the Mott Marine Lab on the Gulf Coast. They asked Marty Watson to lead the first dive ever into the green banana.
So the feeling, the butterflies start to come about a month in advance. It's a serious dive. Up to the point where we jump off the boat.
Navigating old fishing lines, fish, sharks, and silt, Marty and his partner made the 425-foot dive in about 20 minutes. The darker it gets, the closer they are to the bottom of the hole.
The experience is like no other. It's like going to the moon. Weightlessness, the black abyss. The feeling is undescribable.
This piece of equipment is called a benthic lander, specifically designed for exploring the sea floor. The one they use looks similar to this one. They got it there with the help of this torpedo-shaped water scooter. On their backs, computer-controlled rebreathers which scrub out the CO2, recycle the oxygen, and mix in some other gases. Hear that voice? It's the helium talking, which helps make the oxygen safe to breathe at extreme depth and allows divers to stay down for 4 to 5 hours.
There are times where you can really wonder which way's up or down, or right and left. It's always been a dream of mine to be a part of science. I've always said I wanted to walk on the moon. I've always said I'll be the first one to go to Mars. Well, that didn't happen, but this is the closest thing I have.
Back in the lab in Fort Pierce, Dr. Beckler and his team have been analyzing the data collected from the lander, and even though it's too early to be sure what it means, Dr. Beckler is thrilled.
It's pretty unbelievable. This is some of the most exciting data that I've captured in my career.
For instance, this graph shows salt levels in the water of the green banana over a 24-hour period.
Right when nighttime comes, all of a sudden, we start getting relatively fresher water intrude, and it oscillates. So that suggests that we have some sort of relatively fresh groundwater, at least that was connected to the aquifer, coming up and diffusing up into the blue hole.
Relatively fresh water in the Gulf 50 miles from shore. A new discovery.
You can probably safely assume that this groundwater is also enriched in nutrients. So now we have a potential nutrient point source 50 miles offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. This happens to be in the same regions where you have red tide blooms starting. I'm not saying there's a direct connection, but these are things that we definitely need to investigate.
You might remember when the red tide hit us in South Florida in 2018. The algae bloom killed legions of fish, and it gave the air near the ocean a stench that was hard to breathe.
It raises more questions than it answers, that's for sure.
And they're just scratching the surface. The team plans to go back out for another dive in May, gathering more data to help answer some of those questions.